Well, good afternoon, viewers. Today we have a 2019 Honda Pilot, I think. It's an SUV. HRV, sorry. So it's here because the customer reports he's have a history of a evap code, I think P0456. Now I don't see the MIL illuminated right now. It's been to the dealer several times and they've changed the vent solenoid, the purge solenoid, and I think the charcoal canister. And he said at first it'll come up with a check gas cap message. How much fuel's in the tank? Oh shit, it filled the tank. Might be too full to test it. I should have advised him to bring it to me with less than 3/4 of a tank and more than 1/4 of a tank, but we'll connect the scan tool to it and see what codes it has in history and go from there. So this is a new vehicle record, 2019 Honda HRV. Okay, we'll get the license plate later. Let's do a network code scan and a pre-scan and listen to my compressor run. These import vehicles are often slow. P0455, very large leak detected. And a 456, very small leak detected. So they're temporary codes, which means they've failed once, but they haven't matured yet to the point where they're going to turn on the check engine light, but I'm sure they will. He may be clearing the codes with a handheld scanner of some kind. 455 and 456. Now I would assume that the dealership did a smoke test on the tank, but we're going to have to look at the possibilities of that. Pick up when we get to the end of this code scan. So it looks like the 455 and 456 parking brake has got a code against the PCM, probably because of the evap codes. And that's it. So we're going to raise it on the hoist and do a visual inspection first off. Well, I can't tell whether this charcoal canister has been replaced or not. I thought there should be a shield of some kind over top of this thing, but this looks like the purge line here. And this is a vent line. This is a vent line. That's a vent control solenoid by the looks of it, going up into the body. Don't see anything visually wrong. I think we're going to locate the purge solenoid. Here's a fuel fill pipe here. Well, it runs down the inside. Well, I think we're going to locate the purge solenoid and smoke test it from the engine bay. So this looks like the purge solenoid right here, and it looks definitely like it's been replaced recently. So we're going to disconnect this line here and introduce smoke. That's easy enough. Introduce smoke into this line and see the rate of leakage. Now we may have to energize the vent solenoid to stop it, but we'll see. So I got the leak tester on and it's showing a massive leak, but that doesn't mean there's a problem yet because the vent solenoid might be normally venting. So this little ball, when it floats up to here, is 40,000ths of an inch leak, and then anything greater than this is a gross leak. So we're going to use the scan tool to attempt to energize the vent solenoid and close it. So I've got a clean battery charger connected to it with it set at 13.6 volts so the battery doesn't go flat. And I'm looking in the ECM under functional tests. to see if I can energize the vent solenoid with the scan tool. When the following functions are executed, plug-in hybrid, full hybrid, and RLX hybrid models need to start the engine. Well, this is not a hybrid. So let's see what we've got for functional tests. AC clutch, cruise control, cylinder air fuel ratio test, EGR, evap system. Let's try that. Single solenoid. PCS, CVS. Is that purge control? Purge control, that's solenoid on. Purge control solenoid off. CVS on. I would take that to be canister vent solenoid. Automatic. Let's see if it's slowed down the leak rate. So it may have dropped slightly, but I don't think so. I'm going to exit out of the test. And I'm going to try canister vent solenoid off. Automatic. Well, let's lift it up and listen to the solenoid, see if it's actually clicking. Because I don't hear it from here, but it's hard to hear over this battery charger fan. So I'm going to command it on with the scan tool. Continue. Automatic. I heard it click. So let's smoke test this thing and see if smoke's coming out of this vent. I'm not seeing smoke come out of here, but there's a ton of smoke coming from someplace up here. Top of the tank. Oh, brother. Well, that would explain why it's failing the test. I'm going to drop the drive shaft to drop the fuel tank. Wonderful. So I just got off the phone with the owner, asked him if the fuel tank or the fuel pump had ever been serviced, and he mentioned that there was a recall, that was a letter that he received a few months ago regarding the fuel pump. But he says Honda did not do that recall. Now the real fuel pump seal could be leaking on top of the tank if the fuel pump's been disturbed. It's very unusual that, you know, something that hasn't been a part has failed in such a manner with no impact of any kind. Now the fuel pump is accessible under the seat. I went into Identifix and I searched for fuel pump, and there's no mention of recalls here, but I went on Google, did a quick Google search, and it says Honda Canada will voluntarily recall approximately 297,836 17 to 20 Acura Honda vehicles in Canada. So it's not an American recall, it's Canadian recall, and his vehicle falls into that. Here it is here, 18 to 20 HRV. Now, I'm going to pull the seat out and have a look, because it's under the driver's seat, the access door for the fuel pump. So I'm going to have a look. I mentioned to him that the tank is full now, so if we do end up having to drop the tank, I'm going to have them bring it back when it's less fuel in it. So slide the seat rearward, take the plastic trim pieces off here, two 14 mil headed bolts, and then slide the seat forward and do the same thing at the back. And then tilt the seat back. There's the access plate for the fuel pump, and there's a plastic air deflector diffuser. Just pop the grommet out, or pop the clip out of the floor over here. Let's take the 4 screws off and have a look underneath there. So the smoke is coming up from underneath here someplace. It's not coming from around the fuel pump, and this fuel pump has not been replaced. See it coming out from in here. I'm going to look in there with a borescope. So it's definitely coming from the middle of the tank area where that vent hose to the charcoal canister attaches, but I can't see in there with a borescope. I'm going to lift it up and look from underneath. I believe we're going to be dropping the fuel tank. So I dropped the drive shaft and I dropped the tank, and you can see right in the bottom center of the screen there's a rodent nest or something up there, and they must have eaten that pipe, this plastic pipe here, this one here. Well, I've dropped the tank as far as I can. There's an access hole on the other side for something as well, but that wouldn't have helped. I was depressed when I saw this in the floor on the passenger side. I could have accessed it, but it's right in the top center of the tank where the vent is, and you can see it. The rodents have chewed the pipe right in half. There's literally a 3-inch elbow piece missing. I don't know if that center piece comes out of there. I can get this piece, the lower piece out, but I want to know if that center piece comes out of the top of the tank. So I can't figure out how to get that piece out of the top of the tank. It may be molded into the tank, but I'm going to see if I can find a piece of molded hose to go from there to this fitting here. So we're smoke testing this now, and it's leaking out of this vent, but the vent is not energized. If I block the vent, you can hear the pump kicking off and on. So I got the tank back up. I just got to put the heat shield and the cross member brace on. So it's all back together again, and I got it in leak test mode, and it's showing a leak because the vent solenoid is venting. So I'm going to command it on with the scan tool. CVS on, key on, engine off, automatic. Now the pressure should start to build in the tank and the flow should start to drop. By rights, it should drop all the way down to the bottom here. Now I can't run an evap test because the fuel level's too high. But based on the fact that the system is building pressure now, and we're less than 10,000ths of an inch. So we're sealed. I'm just going to check the gas cap. I'm sure the gas cap is fine, but I'm going to take the gas cap off. And it should have shown a leak. And now it should be building pressure and the flow should be dropping again. Or maybe it didn't even recognize that. Well, we're going to clear the codes out of the computer and send this one. I think that's going to be okay now. We're going to do all code clear because there was a code in some other module, parking brake module or something. This takes a few minutes. I've still got a clean battery charger on it. I'll pick up when we get to the end.